Hey, everybody. Hey, today I want to talk about something that is apparently controversial, apparently something people don't want to watch, much to my detriment. The reason I say that, before I get into that, the reason I say that is because I've done two videos recently, or since Michael Bloomberg announced his bid for the presidency, about Michael Bloomberg, about his stop and frisk policy, one, which very few people saw, and then one on an exchange on MSNBC between Nina Turner, who's an Ohio State senator, and Bernie surrogate, and another commentator. In both of these videos, just compared to other videos that I do, didn't get seen. Both of them fewer than 30,000. I mean, I think together they got about 45,000 views. Which, look, it's a lot of views, but comparatively speaking with my other videos, they weren't watched. But I think it's important. And what I want to talk about today is like Stop and Frisk Part 2, because new video was just released, just uncovered of a speech Michael Bloomberg gave, or a talk Michael Bloomberg gave, in which he was saying racist things. Justifying his policies based on terrible ideas. And I've said it before, and I'm going to continue to say it as we go through this primary process to pick a Democratic nominee, that we should not be afraid to criticize where there is justified criticism. And Michael Bloomberg has a lot to go around. Michael Bloomberg is an important character relative to effectively changing our country and the policies therein. He's great on healthcare. He's great on gun policy. And he's putting his resources into that. And I think that's wonderful. But civil rights are about as important as it gets, because what worth do the other rights have that are being protected, not granted by, but protected by the Constitution, without civil rights? If you can't live your life free from molestation by the government, what does anything else matter? And under Michael Bloomberg, there was a systemic effort to marginalize, oppress, and harass black and brown people. I don't know where to go. I got all kinds of stuff in front of me here. I don't know where to begin. But let's play the clip first. Well, no. First, let's talk about what exactly Stop and Frisk was. Stop and Frisk was a policy that was to stop, to detain innocent, no charges, no suspicion, no probable cause, to stop, interrogate, and search American citizens, with the hope that maybe they'd find a gun. The policy under the last year of Rudy Giuliani, who is no prize, no champion of civil rights, where's the number? 97,296 stops, interrogations, and searches under Rudy Giuliani. And that number went insane under Bloomberg. Here's a chart. 160,851 in 2003, his very first year in office. 2004, 313,523. 2005, 398,191. 2006, 506,491. 2007, a little bit of a dip, just under 475,000, up to 540, 581, 601, and then 2011, 685,000 individual stops, interrogations, and searches. He has since given a tepid apology related to that. I don't even consider it an apology. But he's also made the rounds and backed away from that apology. But listen to what this audio from because apparently he's made efforts to not have this video public, but I have the audio here. Listen to this. Listen to him explain and justify in terrible terms why it was necessary to conduct millions upon millions of stops, interrogations, and searches of innocent citizens.
95% of your murderers and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. They are male, minorities, 15 to 25. That's true in New York, it's true in virtually every city. And that's where the real crime is. You've got to get the guns out of the hands of the people that get killed. So you want to spend the money, put a lot of cops in the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means in minority neighborhoods. So it's one of the unintended consequences is people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids for marijuana that are all minorities. Yes, that's true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. Yes, that's true. Why do we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them against the wall and frisk them. And then they say, oh, I don't want that. I don't want to get caught, so they don't bring the gun. They still have a gun, but they leave it at home.
Look, I've said it before, that it's one thing if you're just a guy on the street with a dopey attitude about stop and frisk, whether you agree or disagree. It's one thing if I have a dopey opinion about stop and frisk. I don't have any power. I don't have governmental power to enact my dopey idea infringing upon the rights of innocent Americans. Those quotes in that video are unbelievable. 95% of murderers, and murder victims fit one MO, one modus operandi. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. How many stories have we heard that you fit the description? We're choosing a president of the United States, someone who will be, in effect, a protector of civil rights of Americans. And if your justification for this type of a draconian policy is that, well, they fit the description, that leaves me largely off the hook. Think about this. If we use that as a justification to stop anybody, I would be a suspect in mass shootings. White male. And let me tell how happy I would be if I was being stopped as a course of part of my regular day by the police. We just want to make sure you don't have a gun because you fit the description of a mass shooter. The reason that doesn't happen is because I'm white. And whites don't largely get harassed like that. But if you're black or you're brown, you're a member of the marginalized community, who are you going to complain to? That's the attitude of Michael Bloomberg. So you want to get a lot of cops on the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means minority neighborhoods. How successful was stop and frisk? Millions of stops. How successful? You would think that there would be all kinds of data backing up this continued policy from 2003 to 2013 when he left office. You would think. Well, one, a judge struck it down. Shira Scheindlin wrote, in conclusion, after striking this policy down in the way that they were operating, in conclusion, I find that the city is liable for violating plaintiffs' 4th and 14th Amendment rights. The 4th Amendment being unlawful search and seizures, and the 14th Amendment being equal justice under the law. The Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. The city acted with deliberate indifference toward the NYPD's practice of making unconstitutional stops and conducting unconstitutional frisks. We're choosing a president of the United States we want someone who is not so flippant with the civil rights of Americans. And if you're sitting there and you're white and this doesn't resonate with you, think about how you would feel if on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, even on a monthly basis, even if one time a year you were detained, interrogated, and searched unconstitutionally because of some nebulous reason that ended up being thrown out. If your day was interrupted, getting to work, and if your answer is, yeah, I wouldn't like that, then this should matter to you too. Because fellow Americans, millions of times under Bloomberg, had their constitutional rights violated and then justified. Time magazine wrote about this, but the stops did not affect New Yorkers uniformly. The vast majority occurred in lower income minority neighborhoods from 2003 to 2008. The highest cumulative number of stops occurred in poorer neighborhoods such as East Harlem, Brooklyn's East New York, and Jamaica, Queens. The neighborhoods with the lowest number of stops were wealthier parts of the city, such as downtown and midtown Manhattan and Brooklyn's Park Slope. In 52% of 4.4 million stops between 2004 and 2012, the person stopped was black. In 31%, the person was Hispanic. Those are stark numbers. In a city that's almost 50% white, it's 45% white, 85% of these stops were black and brown Americans. That is oppression. That is systemic violation of constitutional rights. And for me, it disqualifies him as a candidate for president of the United States. Unless he gets to the general election somehow, and it's only a choice between he and Donald Trump, I'm not voting for Michael Bloomberg. Scheindlin, she said that this case is about tension between liberty and public safety, and she sided justifiably and correctly against the state. Too much focus on public safety, not enough on the liberty of innocent Americans. Mother Jones wrote, "The rising number of stops in recent years has not led to a bounty of illicit goods. Only a very small percentage of the searches lead to a discovery of weapons, drugs, or stolen items. And lo and behold, as this chart demonstrates, black New Yorkers are far more likely than whites to be stopped needlessly." And 538 writes, beginning in 2007, the New York Civil Liberties Union filed a series of Freedom of Information Act requests to get the NYPD's data on its stop and frisk encounters. And what was found? In 2012, the NYPD made more than 532,000 stops, each of which could progress to a frisk or to a full search. The police found guns only 715 times. In other words, guns were found during 0.1% of stops. Not effective. And in spite of it not being effective, the policy continued until struck down by a federal court. I don't know how you feel about it. In fact, let's look at this chart too. Look at that. White people who were searched 10% of the time, and sometimes fewer than 10%, were holding weapons and contrabands at over 5 times the rates of black and brown New Yorkers. And the policy continued, and continued to be justified. Millions upon millions upon millions of times, American civil rights were violated. Systematically violated as a matter of policy under Michael Bloomberg. This is disqualifying for office of President of the United States. This isn't about banning your soda because it was too big. This is about a fundamental violation of constitutional rights. And people need to pay attention to this. Yes, Michael Bloomberg has done good things relative to spending money where it is needed about policy changes with guns and healthcare and the environment. Absolutely. But that doesn't qualify him to be president of this country in charge of 1/3 of the government and the executive branch. Doesn't qualify him. This alone should be worthy of you to question whether or not you'd want him to be president. I'd love to know what you think. If you disagree especially, I'd love to know what you think about this. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm not saying that he's a racist. I think it could be argued that he is. What I'm saying is that once you're given power, the decisions that you make should not be dismissed. And this is a decision that I believe is disqualifying. Because when given the chance to govern, to lead, to rule, he blew it. This, for me, is blowing it. But I'd love to know what you think. Well, listen, especially related to this. I'm going to play this one more time. Here is his opening salvo as a campaign for president. This is the commercial he ran.
Mike Bloomberg started as a middle-class kid who had to work his way through college, then built a business from a single room to a global entity, creating tens of thousands of good-paying jobs along the way. He could have stopped there. But when New York suffered the terrible tragedy of 9/11, he took charge, becoming a 3-term mayor who brought a city back from the ashes and brought back jobs and hope with it, creating tens of thousands of affordable housing units so families could have a decent place to live, raising teachers' salaries and kids' graduation rates, and creating a more open and livable city for the millions who call it home. He could have stopped there, but when he witnessed the terrible toll of gun violence, he put his money where his heart is, helping to create a movement to take on the NRA and the politicians they own, to protect families across this country and help turn the tide. And he's funded college educations for thousands of deserving low-income and middle-class kids, and supported life-saving medical research, and stood up to the coal lobby and the outright denial of this administration to protect the only home we have from the growing menace of climate change. But now he sees a different kind of menace coming from Washington, so there's no stopping here. Because there's an America waiting to be rebuilt, where everyone without health insurance is guaranteed to get it, and everyone who likes theirs can go ahead and keep it. Where the wealthy will pay more in taxes, and the struggling middle class will get their fair share. And jobs that just allow you to get by will become jobs that let you get ahead. Mike Bloomberg for president. Jobs creator, leader, problem solver. It's going to take all three to build back a country.
What I notice in there is a lot of brown and black people being featured as someone that he cares about. He yearns to protect. Or he's just using as an emotional metric maker in his campaign video. Because when given the chance to treat black and brown people in the city that he governed well, he did not. That's where the crime is. That's where we're going to send the cops. That's where the crime is. How do you get the guns? You throw them up against the wall and you frisk them. Whether they're innocent or not. Whether they're guilty or not. Wasn't a consideration. What was the consideration? Oh, they fit the MO. I've got my Xerox copy of who they are. They fit the description. Let's search them. Are they on their way to work? Who cares? Are they on the way to hospital to see their mother? Who cares? They're black and brown. Might they lose their job because they're going to be late? Who cares? They fit the description. Anyway, again, I would like to know what you think. 714-576-4054. You can email one more thing at dollemore.com. I think we can disagree agreeably about this. Am I passionate about it? Yeah. Because I don't look at it solely from the perspective of others being mistreated. These are Americans. I also look at it as this could be me. What if I'm on an undesirable list? What if I fit the description and I'm going about my day and being bothered by being harassed by armed agents of the state, where I have no other recourse but to just follow their instructions? Having my constitutional rights violated? No. I will not stand for that, whether it be me or whether it be people who don't look like me. We should all be looking out for our neighbors, our brothers and sisters who don't experience the world like we experience it. So this will probably be another video that doesn't get watched as much as others. And I would encourage you to share this with your friends, with your family, with someone who is a Bloomberg supporter. I don't mind being disagreed with. In fact, I welcome it, especially in this case, because there is a rock-solid federal court-supported argument behind what I'm saying. And there's not one behind what Michael Bloomberg believes about this. Anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time.